Welcome back to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grumler.
Wolverine.
Today we'll talk teams, which are we the only, I don't want to say we're the only ones.
Yes. Say it.
Okay. Are we the only ones?
Who else is talking about it?
I don't know.
Nobody. I mean, we talk programming. Programming doesn't mean only individuals. It doesn't mean only old people. It doesn't mean,
yes. I can't tell if you're glitching or just like glitching in your head or glitching on camera.
I'm probably glitching a little bit. I'm going to talk about the old, but yeah, I think we're the only one that does. And I will say this about the teams. I think it's good that we talk about the teams because the programming is and needs to be so drastically different than what we are normally talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that we fuck the teams. Maybe. I think that it's interesting, if not for competitions, at least for like affiliates when they're doing like I don't usually do this because I'm not really a fan of it myself, but like doing the team workouts on the weekends.
Oh, you just mean like programming in general?
Just programming like for the gym. A lot of these things that we talk about, talk about what would work, how it would work, what the stimulus is, and you can take that information and move it into your affiliate. Teams and the idea of having partners just ends up being okay. Make it all like over 150 reps and do something stuff.
Go to work.
So.
Well, that's an interesting thing because when we analyze team programming, which we've done since we started the podcast, and that was a big thing that I wanted to talk about when we started the podcast because I lived in the team arena for such a long time on the broadcast side when we both started our broadcast journeys together. And I've always been very critical of the team competition, not because I don't like the team competition, because the programming of the team competition always just gave me I don't know, irritable bowel syndrome.
But why? Because it appeared to be an afterthought.
Well, it was an afterthought. Even Dave Castro at one time, I think in his Constructing the CrossFit Games book, legitimately said word by word, it is an afterthought.
Okay.
And it was a dark cloud over his head while he's doing the individuals, and now he's passed that off since then. So like that has changed. But in the beginning, the team competition was not only an afterthought, it was just a punt of, hey, just do a bigger version of the individual programming. So
we've said that that's wrong, right?
Right.
Okay. Now here's the question that I wanted to ask you. This is the question. So this year was the first year in 3 years that Dave programmed the games. Correct?
22, 23. So if the third, two.
Okay, 2 years. Okay, whatever. That 2 or 3 years.
Right.
We were all fired up because the last couple of years we've had Boz, and we saw that there was, and I think that everyone would agree that there was a difference in the programming based on what Boz was doing for the individuals.
Yes.
And everyone this year was like, okay, Dave's like, I'm fired up. I have the individuals, and we're putting Boz over here on the teams, and it's going to be great.
Right.
And when you look at the team programming, does it just look like a bigger version of the individual stuff recycled all over again? Yes,
and here's why I think this is. Remember when we were talking about what effect of doing an all indoors CrossFit Games was going to look like for the individuals, and not once did I think of what the effect was going to be on team.
Right.
And clear as day, the team competition, I believe, is more greatly affected by just being in an indoor arena than anything, because the team events usually were where in Carson? The soccer field.
Yep.
For most of the events.
Yep.
And in Madison, it was North Park or exploring the space around where Madison was. Rarely ever did they come inside and did massive team events because you couldn't. There wasn't enough.
So many people, dude.
Right.
So many. I mean, it was cool having the teams in like the tennis stadium in Carson, but I was an MC like in 2010. I was down there, and I don't know how the hell I didn't get kicked by people. And I think that was like the killer cage set up, and they had
Yep.
all the teams on the. There was
Legless rope
9,000
fence.
people on the floor, and it's just absolute mayhem. Like
Yes.
you can't have people. It's hard.
Yeah. And that was 6-person teams when if there was heats of 10, there's 60 people on the floor just competing.
Right.
Which I'm sure was like some type of fire code violation just by having the teams out there
Oh my
alone.
God.
But yeah, and that was kind of when we started this, we started to look into, because on the individual side, it's like, is it a well-balanced program test throughout? I mean, just think of the basic definition of CrossFit programming. It's like constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity, broad general physical tests in, varying times, modal domains, all that kind of thing. Is like, is there a balanced test for the individuals to claim it's the fittest on earth? Okay, that's the question we try to answer when we look at the programming, especially at the CrossFit Games, right? We're trying to find the fittest person.
I mean, that is the why.
On the team side, I don't think that's the same thing. We look at what's the variance of formats used to test these teams, because it's not necessarily, like you said, it was really cool that you talked about programming for your gym. It's like, well, I don't really have a stimulus of what we're trying to accomplish today. It's just like, hey, just get the work done, enjoy yourselves, and just compete as a team. I think the same thing happens at the CrossFit Games. You're not necessarily finding the fittest team alive, because all you really have to do is look at the 4 members of their team and look at their fitness levels as individuals. And it's like, all right, well, this team, by our definition of fitness,
right,
is a collectively fitter team. However, which I love about the teams with this, however, it's about team competition and strategy and working together as a unit. Like, that's part of the team competition tests. And so the things we look at may be a little bit different than the individuals. Like, oh, was there enough strength tested? It's like, no, was there enough teamwork tested? Was there enough variance between using mixed pairs or same-sex pairs, or synchro work with 2 or 4, or weak link work? And we'll go through all those variables of how we decipher and reverse engineer team competitions. But I think one thing's for sure is that the team competition is one of the harder things to program for at the CrossFit Games from a spectator and viewer standpoint, not necessarily the competitive angle.
No, I agree with that.
Good team workout.
Hard to tell what the hell's going on.
It's a bad look on the competition floor. So that is such a tough thing to weave into the programming that is visually stimulating for one, visually easy to follow, number 2, and just entertaining in general from not even being there in person, from watching from home, because you don't just get to look wherever you want.
Right. And I think that it's the one time, and I mean, we had this show a long time ago where, for like we came up with a formula of what the games for the team needed to have. How many all inclusive, how many mixed pairs, how many, to where at least you're able to have areas. I mean, just like you're going to be testing speed and strength and, all of the 10 physical traits as individuals, having that as a unit, the same thing, but having to be able to test all the team together, mixed paired, same pairs, waterfall style, because those are important. Because I mean, the classic line was always, okay, the winner of the teams is always going to be who has the strongest women, or who has the least of your least fit, the highest of the least fit of the women. Like, that one link is going to be your determining factor, because it doesn't matter. Like, cool, you have Rich Froning on your team, or you have Noah Olson on your team, or you have some other big badass person. That's great, but they can't carry everybody.
Right.
And so it does get really different. No, and you're right, because that's not a team. And again, it's not individuals as a collective group, it's a team.
Right.
But I think that, like, it was interesting for me to go back and watch the team stuff, and then just be like, I'm sure logistically it's a pain in the ass, but I wish that someone like yourself that just adores the teams, lets them program without being shackled to, okay, the individuals are doing this, so we need to do a group version of that workout.
Right.
And because I think that right there, that fencing in the programming doesn't give it it's not advantageous
Right.
to developing the program. It's like, let this person program. And if Boz is going to program the teams, then let him go and program it.
True.
I wish, but I mean, again, like
Well, there's a lot of variables there too. It's like, okay,
logistics
what's
is always
schedule
going to
for
be
the day,
huge.
the
Right.
logistics.
I get it.
The things that I'm fine with is like, hey, we have the Zeus rig out there with 3 A-frames and ropes hanging. It's like, just make sure you use the ropes and put whatever you want in the middle.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, we used the pigs in the third event for the individuals. Like, yeah, we'll use them for the teams. We'll just format them in a way where it's not the same workout, but we are using maybe the same equipment.
Right.
So, which is fine. One thing before we get into analyze the programming is we did a show of how to. We felt the team competition needed a massive overhaul, like just a total, complete overhaul. And one of the things that we had suggested is the known and the unknown and unknowable part of the individual competition is a vital importance to the test of CrossFit. That's what CrossFit is for. It's to develop general physical preparedness for the unknown and unknowable. And that's what our test involves. Like it or hate it, that's what CrossFit is. That's the sport of fitness. That is how we test the athletes. And I hope it never changes, ever.
Right.
On the team side, I think we can still do the same thing, but have categories that must be tested. And how you choose the program for those different categories is the unknown and unknowable part. But how nice is it to come to a football game? It's like, hey, listen, I know a touchdown is 6, an extra point is 1. You can go for 2. There's safeties and field goals, and these are the rules of the game. However, the game is different every time it gets played. So throughout the weekend at the CrossFit Games, there will always be, let's just say, 10 events. And you're going to have one event that is just bulk work team, individualized relay, all team works with subs, mixed pairs, same-sex pairs, whatever. You have the categories fixed, and then you program whatever you want within those categories. So at least as a viewer, we're like, hey, guess what? We know the order of events of what's coming. We know that it's bulk work is event 1, and that it's individual finales, 50 points apiece per 4 people. Like, we know what's coming, but we don't know what the workouts are. And what I like that coming up is that Dylan and his team at Wadapalooza, or Tier Wadapalooza SoCal, with the Tier Cup coming up, I'm not going to say they listened, because I have no idea who listens to this show or not. But they're doing exactly what we had talked about as far as categories with what they have coming up at the end of September, is that they have 6 formats.
Yeah.
One is individual, which is all 16. I think it's 8 and 8 on each team, competing individually, and it's the sum of the athlete's scores, which is awesome. A lot like, say, open scoring.
Right, the open, yeah.
All hands, full team with subs. I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but everybody's on the same team. Maybe it's 4 people competing at a time, and they just switch people in and out as they want to. Cool. Spotlight, male or female, 1 from each team. You could do a gymnastics test, a weightlifting test, and a monostructural test, whatever. However you want to highlight 2 people. The Miami team, so it's like 3 of each sex, so 3 men versus 3 men, 3 women versus 3 women. CrossFit Games team, 2 men, 2 women competing, and then the team captains going against each other. This is how you do the team competition. I'm so excited to see what they do, but this is what we want. Okay, I'll say, I don't want to speak for you, Bill. This is what I want. I want something set here in every different way you can test a team with more than just 4 people, because now you can have subs, now you can substitutes during the competition, and you just have, here's the format. You don't know what the events are. You don't know how many events they're going to be, but it's nice to have something here so that I know what I'm walking into before the competition starts.
Yeah, we have to make the jump to where you can't program or just assume that what you're doing for the teams is just a blown up individual competition. It's not. And so having these, whether it's the categories that we came up with when we were talking about overhauling the teams, or what Tier Wadapalooza does here, it should be that way. And I don't think that takes any of the unknown and unknowable out. It just allows you to know how you're going to be tested, which if we were talking individuals, it would be the same types of thing. You're going to be doing some long monostructural. You're going to be doing some fast burner stuff. You're going to be doing some heavy weight. You're going to be doing some, classic gymnastics, monostructural weightlifting. You're going to have all those. We just don't have them written down. But I think that it's okay to have that for the teams, because you need to make sure that those things are being tested. We've seen some great events where it's the same style of teamwork done all the time, where it's all about your weak link. So why even have it?
Right.
Or it's all waterfall. It's all individual where you're going down that way, or it's all synchro, or it's all like, I think people get locked into that. So when you have all of the different categories, one, it allows the spectators to know which event is coming up, quote unquote event is coming up. So if they really want to see the individual people go and shine, okay, cool. You know which one you want to make sure to watch. Or if you want to see the whole team out there doing whatever at the same time, cool, you got that too. You know when it's coming. But then you also know, as the programmer, how to it's already set. You don't have to think up, oh shit, I need to make sure that I have all the people. No, I already did that one. I checked it off.
Right.
What movements did we have in there? Okay, now we just don't want to replicate those exact same movements in the other workouts. That's all. And that's okay. Yes. I think that's great. It should be that way.
Yes.
It's different. It needs to be looked at different and thought of different, and like, be happy that it's different, man.
And one of the formats we had was bringing in an old school regional style that they did back in the day, because can't speak, where was, say you had 6 people on the team, you had a mixed pairs event, and then whoever was left that didn't do the pairs event, do the 4-person team event on the same day.
Yeah.
Someone's always like, what do you say? This is great, but impossible at the games. Yeah, in its current format. But we already said we want to completely blow up and change the team format. And maybe we'll just revisit what we did last time to drop some knowledge on how to do it and how much more fun and exciting the team competition will be. And my hope is people get a view of what that could be when it comes to tier Wannapalooza SoCal. So I'm excited, but let's go to the CrossFit Games. So we're going to analyze the program of the CrossFit Games, Team Edition. Now for this one, we'll walk you guys through event per event. Keep in mind that teams did not get the full breadth of the test, a lot like the individuals did. They didn't do any events on Thursday, which was the team run paddle event, which was 3.5 mile run as a team, and then a gigantic paddle board where all 4 could sit on it. And then they did this long paddle. I think it was twice as long as what the swim was for the individuals. And then did they post what the evening event was going to be?
I don't know. I don't think they ever got a chance to do
that.
Because
evening event. I don't know if they posted what it was, but we'll just pick up from where they started on that competition day. So the first event of the weekend was squat, ski, climb. I've got to say, some of these team events, I would like to rename these.
But at least they tried.
At least they tried, yes.
Maybe not in this one, but at least they tried in some of them.
Speaking of renaming, Monday, finally, we'll be renaming the team event of the 2021 CrossFit Games. Tentatively, we have John, Pedro, and Tyler coming on that show with us. But we've moved that thing around, I think, 13 times in the last 2 weeks. So who knows if that'll even happen. The event itself is 40 synchro sandbag squats at 200 and 150. So 200 for the men, 150 for the women. 1 legless rope climb each. 40 cal skier. They worked in mixed pairs. They both totaled 40 cals between the two of them. They couldn't move on until both pairs were done. Legless rope climb, earthworm thrusters, 2 climbs, and then they worked their way back. So the format is close to what midline climb was. Mm-hmm. What sandbag squats, okay, skis, earthworm thrusters. So I actually like this. The time domain's moderate. It's 13 to 15 minutes. The volume's high. The sandbags are heavy, like 200 and 150. The individuals last year, women did 125.
I know.
And now they're doing 150 here on the team.
And if you watch how they did that, where they were doing the handoff, roll it off the back onto your other person's shoulder.
You're just rolling your partner like 200 and 150. That's basically the average body weight of a male and female competitor.
Right, I know.
It's like, here, I'm just going to roll this body bag over my shoulder, and then you take it. And then the earthworm, which is a retooling of the original worm, which was a wood worm for 6 people, but it was hollowed out log holes with rope strung in between. So those
Dude, I have 2 thumbs up for that.
I love the earthworm. Now, by the end of the
So cool.
weekend, I'm not going to say that because someone else also loved the earthworm, and that man was Adrian Bosman. However, the worm itself, like the regular worm, it's more of a hindrance and annoyance for people because everybody's gotten so good and it's so easily connected.
Yeah.
This one is great, and it's heavier. Like that thing destroys people out there.
Oh man, it looked like even teams that were good at it, it looked like the first time that they ever pulled that wooden worm out.
Right.
Like with the
without the cauliflower ear and broken
minus the cauliflower, yeah, and all the blood on everything. I love that every person had to hold their section. You couldn't have someone that wasn't holding their section, and with the rope, the segments were able to basically change on the height of your athletes. So everyone was getting their weight. And
Shorty's in it though.
And,
you mean this one?
Yeah, on the mixed one, yeah.
Correct.
And you couldn't really have anyone. You know how like a lot of times now they'll have it where you're drooping the sandbag over the top, and it's like, now you can't do that now.
I love it. This thing is wonderful.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's wonderful because yes, everybody gets theirs.
Yeah.
And the other worm, Shorty's just touch the worm as the people just pass it over their head, and this is great. It's a chipper scheme. The weight's heavy, as we said, but we also have monostructural movements, gymnastics movements, and weightlifting. The weightlifting being the sandbag and the thruster, the monostructural being the ski erg, and the gymnastics being the legless rope climbs. Now, the second section, usually we have the movement and what movement patterns and what's getting taxed. This is more dedicated to team format. So we have a bunch of different things in here. We have synchro pairs, which is the sandbag squats. Then they are also mixed pairs with the sandbag squats and the cows on the ski, because the men had their bag, the women in theirs, they would synchro squat all the way down, and they were mixed up. Weak link is your base, means you're hindered by your weakest link. So earthworm is one of them. You guys could have 3 of the fittest people that, like, you could have Matt, Tia, and Rich all on the worm, and then whoever's that lonely 4th person, if they are just not up to snuff, they are moving at the pace of that one person. That's a weak link thing. It doesn't matter how good you are individually. If you have one person holding your back, your team will not advance. And then a relay format, it's exactly what it sounds. One person does, another person follows, and another person follows. So these are the team formats that were used and tested in event number 1, which I like my symbols.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Would you have the legless rope climb as a weak link also? I mean, it was a relay. Yeah. I see how you're putting it in there, but like I saw when I went back and watched some of it, you could see and I'll go to the females for the most part of it, because if you have a female athlete that is having to do the kipping right out of the gate, you're like, oh, all right, that's the person that we're waiting for.
No, you're right, 100%, because it is incumbent on that, because they weren't sharing the load.
Right.
Everyone had to pull their own weight. So yes, I would put legless rope climbs in there.
Okay. But it does fit for a relay, and I see what you're doing. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, but I put both, right? Because I had sandbag squats and synchro pairs, but that was the only thing that was synchro.
I gotcha. Yeah.
No, good call. Thank you. Next event, Team Firestorm, which, got to work on that name. I liked Firestorm. Now for this one, it was a sprint per the individuals taking the test while they're taking it. Yes, it was longer than 5 minutes for the whole team to be done, but the work you were doing was a sprint. Now, there's a new format in here that we've seen in the past, but maybe not drawn attention to, which I'll hit on the next slide. Low reps basically was the Firestorm event for the individuals, but done in the team in same-sex pairs, While one was biking for the 11 cows for the women, the other was doing the 11 burpees over the ballistic blocks. When they were both done, they were switch, and then they'd do 3 rounds of that. Once the women were done, it would then be the men's turn. As far as the format and flow, I really liked this, what they did there, versus say, Bill, you do your 15-11, and then I'll do my 15-11, and then maybe we bounce back and forth on the way down. I liked how we were stuck together, and we had to nail our pacing and intensity and timing, which brought more of a strategic element in play into this event in particular.
I do like how it worked. Actually, the flow of it on the screen actually worked really well. How they had the front half and then they had the back half where they kind of moved to the next blocks before the men could come out. So even though there was a lot of people that were moving back and forth, oh, that's cool. Even though they were moving back and forth between the burpees and the echo bike, you still could kind of see what was happening. And I thought that was it was fun to watch it. And plus it was really fast, so it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I do feel like on this one you still get caught. So here's event number 2. We still get caught with, okay, if me and you are going and you have way more fitness than I do, you're going at my tempo, not at your tempo. So it kind of falls into that like weak link.
And I think that a weak link category could be technically in every single team programming.
But I mean, it's like my speed,
a collective 4 people.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would have been, or do you think the times would be different, or maybe much different, if you said everybody goes relay style, or you do it like, and you just basically either add up everybody's time or however you want to do it that way.
Yeah.
So that everyone is able to go their max output,
right?
Or to have it this way. Like, do you think you're losing that much by going this way?
So that's a great question, and it depends on what the other programming is.
Right.
If we don't have one of those just relay, burn it downs, follow the leader ones, then this would have been a cool opportunity to have this year.
Yeah.
I like this format here.
Unless they're trying to cut the time down.
True. I would like to revisit that question when we get towards the last day of competition.
Just dropping it in there for you.
That's good. So here's the new addition to the team format. Is I just call it parallel work, which means you're working parallel, meaning you both are working together side by side with different movements.
Got it.
Simultaneous just didn't fit, so I just put parallel. So Bill's working, I'm working, we're doing the same work. We can't move until we're both done, and then we switch our places, and then we continue on. You can see the same thing. We'll probably see the same thing on Sunday. I believe it was Sunday, but we'll bring that up. Same sex pair, so different than we had in event number 1, where we had mixed pairs working together on the sandbag squats and the ski. And then a relay as far as pairs were concerned. The women went first all the way through, and then it was the men's turn. Versus, say, something like a waterfall where the women would go 11-11 and move to the next section, and then the men would come right behind them.
Yeah.
That'd be another way to do it. But we did get that opportunity a little bit later. So that's team event number 1. Let's see. What did Gordon see? When will we see Chase and Bill do Firestorm? Man, I haven't done acid bath yet. Firestorm is definitely going to happen after that. Have you ever done acid bath?
No.
I haven't either. I should.
Not at, I'll say, I have not done it at.
Appropriately?
To where acid bath was actually the name.
You know what?
I've completed it. But it was more like, let me just see what this feels like. I just wanted to dip my toe.
There's events that come up every year where I'm like, I should probably do that. I don't want to do that, but this is probably something that I should experience. The marathon row was one of those. I didn't want to do it, and then finally I did. I would rather do a marathon row than acid bath.
Oh, dude. Come on. That's not even close. Not even close. Like, and well, that's
which way. Like, you would rather do the other way, or you're with me?
I personally like the shorter duration power output events.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I know how hard and how hard you need to go and how bad they hurt, and the long-lasting pain after that is
Right.
longer than the long duration that you're doing on the like a 24-hour or a marathon row.
I'd rather sit on a rower for 4 hours than have my quads hurt for 30 minutes.
I know that I'll be able to get off that and be like, "Oh, my chest feels great. I don't feel that bad at all." I'd get off something like this and be like, I would have Fran cough for like the next 6 hours.
Yeah.
You know, there'd be that pain that just kind of settles in after all that lactic acid just like dumping into my body and just like hanging out. Because I'm not really good at like riding that stuff out afterwards.
Yeah.
I just kind of roll around on the ground and then get back to whatever I'm doing.
Going acid bath live on Get With The Programming. Maybe one day.
That'd
That'd be cool though.
It would be fun, dude.
I'm like, all right, Bill, you go to your gym. I'm gonna go to my garage.
We could do it.
Let's sync up the videos and just race.
Fuck.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. We'd have to like tie
Hey,
some type of fundraiser to
Hey,
that.
just so you know, so you know, our Sundays are like our just kind of long, grueling kind of. I just put stuff out there for people just to kind of
Mhm.
sit in the pain for a while.
Yeah.
I had Kelsu as our Sunday
did?
workout.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
and I had all kinds of questions like, okay, so if you start doing it for like 40 minutes and you're doing 5 burpees every minute, like at what point do you scale, or where should you scale,
Yeah.
or what's the? It brought up a lot of really good questions. It was fun. I didn't do it, but it was programmed.
Well, I haven't done it never. So, okay. Event number 3. This is on Friday. This is Friday night. Farrington 5. Now, we saw the title of this come out before the event got released. And I don't want to be super negative. I hate this event. That's very negative. But what we were hoping it was going to be, and the potential that could have been with the name, with right, it was like 5 by 400 meters, or whatever it was,
Right.
and I hated this one. This was such a waste of everybody's time to be out there to watch, execute, and set up. And I know that's mean, but here's why. Here's what the event should have been. And maybe it was this and it got changed for some reason. So if that's the case, my apologies, but it should have been 4 rounds. One person runs 400 meters, and then they push the bob down and back halfway across the field.
Yeah.
And then the next person goes push down and back. Third person, push down and back. Last person, just push down, or down and back, and just whatever, however you want to do it. And then it's done. This was just a 1,600 meter run, which took 6 to 6.5 minutes, and then a 20 to 30 second push across the field.
Yeah.
Can you imagine putting 20, how many? I think it was 20, was it or 15 maybe.
Yeah, there was a lot.
15 bobs out there for 30 seconds worth of work twice.
Probably took like 3 hours to put all those things out there, and all the weights and everything on them. Yeah, dude, I like even the name of one lap around in 100 meters. Like there's your 5 400s.
I just don't know why it changed.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know if it changed, right?
I don't know.
What was it online? I can't remember. It was on Instagram, wasn't it?
We were. I don't think it really officially said.
We
were looking at it. We came up with that. That was what we said. I think that there was an opportunity here to do what they could have done, like with the individuals, where you have the run is one score, the push would be another score, and then you kind of add them together. But like not for 54 meters.
This is what they said: 5 by 400 meter relay.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So where's the 5?
I don't know.
Down and back is a 100 meter.
Now with day one and that.
Side.
I don't. Yeah,
that's 108 meters.
Whatever the reasons were, I would have preferred that not have changed.
The other thing that killed me on this, I think the absolute most ridiculous way to do any run for teams, and I don't care, is having them all run with a goddamn rope where they all have to hold on to the rope. Yeah. It looks ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Like you might as well tie their legs together and have them do like a how many legs would
A
that be?
three-legged race.
Like
It would
an
be a
8-legged, a 10-legged
something
race.
like that. Yeah,
Like that would be better
seven-legged race.
and make way more sense than just. I mean, watching them, it was just dumb. Like I have never liked that.
It was also somewhat unfair for the teams on the back middle part of the start because they had to start collected around everybody, where the team all the way in the far lane just had a clear run the entire time.
I know. It was bad. When that's the thing, like if you don't break it up where they have to go in and out, then that positioning,
Yeah.
like you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This is all weak link. Also another chipper.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Our second chipper. All weak link. So how fast is your slowest runner and weakest pusher? You can get away a little bit for the big bob. You won't do as well, but I guess they're not slowing you down as much as say, I can't run that fast. Therefore,
dude, there were people
just like roll. I've seen people fake push the bob before. As a coach, 100%. I've seen people fake push the bob before.
100%. What I was going to say was I saw people running where two were sled dogging, one in the middle and one in the back end was pushing that middle person. Like talk about exposing the weak link. Like they might as well have picked them up and put them on the shoulders.
Right.
On their run paddle that they were going to do, were they all going to have to hold on to the rope for that too?
No.
God, thank God.
They just couldn't start without their team.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'd make them run that far tethered on a small path.
That's true. That's true.
And it was an open path. It was open to the public. I mean, could you imagine how many is it? It was 30 times 4, so 120 people running by you with ropes and like, what is going?
He's going clothesline other teams,
shirtless dudes and girls in swimsuits and caps and wondering what on earth just ran by me. So, yeah, I'm just more upset that it didn't work out like we wanted it to, because it could have been.
It would have been way cooler, dude.
It would have been probably my favorite event of the weekend.
Would have been like, as far as a team, it would have been the classic. You don't have to have all of the things to make it look amazing. It's simple and elegant, and the race now takes over. Like when you watch this, at no point were you like, "Oh, that's so exciting! This is awesome."
And like, all right, they got there first.
I mean, even dude, it was like during the Olympics, like track the 4x4, the 4x400 relay. Like, give them a stick. Like, there's so many cool things.
And the baton is bob. That's the best part.
Right? I know. I get it.
Oh man, that's too bad. Actually, you know what? It would have been even awful for them, but great for us. Is so you pick your relay, or whatever your order you want, and then that's where the strategy comes into play. Should you put your slowest person first so they don't have to run towards the end, or your least conditioned person? You might be the fastest one, but after the run, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, who do you put where and why? And down and back push on the bob, so you take off right from where you're at. The fourth and final one, it would still be a down and back push, and then you'd have to sprint across the field to the finish line. How awful would that be?
Dude, it would be so amazing.
But awesome.
Hey, okay, so one last thing before we go to the next event. So I'm looking at, I mean, obviously movements and stuff, but also okay, wait. Now, I know you put heavy on this for only 30 seconds worth of work. If this would have been what we were talking about, where they had to go down and back, like, then to me, it's really heavy, because now it actually matters. Like, that push didn't matter. There were no changes on the push.
Very few, maybe one or two, but I'm just more of like the weightlifting element that was being used was heavy.
No, and I agree with that.
I get what you're saying.
Anyway,
well, we made the same argument on the individual side, so that's good that you're bringing that up.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, Miss Farrington 5. Should have been just called Whelp.
All right,
inverted earthworm. So you had 20 earthworm cleans, which ate people alive, and then 60 handstand push-ups anyway, working in mixed pairs, side by side. So a lot like what we saw on the ski in the first event. You and your partner complete your 60 together. So you're sharing the work, which I like. You and your partner over here. And once both of you are done with your 60 total, then you advance to the 20 cleans again. Come back and do the same thing for 40 strict, 20 cleans, and then a conga line or waterfall style of 5 unbroken freestanding handstand push-ups. Move forward, 5 more. Once your partner's done with the first section, the next partner can enter and do theirs. Time domain, everybody got capped. I know Tola's team finished the last one, but I guess they didn't get across the finish line in time. So not one team finished this, which is always rough to see. High volume as far as a lot of work done. I mean, 60 cleans with the earthworm by itself with that implement is brutal. Brutal. Let alone with the handstand push-ups mixed in there with everybody else. Chipper. Another one.
Yep.
The chipper. The weight's heavy. That earthworm, it's just heavy. It's so much heavy. Like the original worm, or not the original worm, the one we're used to is 200-pound sections for the men, 270-pound sections for the women, all attached with like 6-pound fillers. There's like 3 of them. The earthworm is 125 pounds for the men, 100 pounds for the women. And those things slide everywhere. And it's a weightlifting gymnastics combo. Oops, movement patterns. Oh, I forgot to put team format. Whatever. Weak link again, earthworm. If you can't handle it, your team just gets to sit there and watch you. The mixed pairs, you could share the work. So if you weren't as good as strict, but you're better at kipping, I would take more there. Vice versa, you can share the work. Same thing for the strict and kipping. And then the relay format, which I forgot to change to waterfall. So it's not a relay. Relay is you go, you finish, I get to go. This is when you finish part 1, the next person could go. So this was actually a waterfall for the freestanding handstand push-up. Now, I liked this one. I just would have liked to seen more people finish this one. It was just a war of attrition and not necessarily anybody competing.
Well, and it's like what are you really wanting to test on this? Are you really trying to push the weightlifting, or do you want to highlight the gymnastics? Because if that's the case, then drop the number of the cleans down, and then they can race, and then you can have everybody race through the freestanding handstand push-up. Because I mean, I think just like we saw in the individual, if you allow everyone to get all the way through, that should become the race. Not the worm clean and jerk or the cleans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think? 15 or 10?
For
if you're gonna bring the cleans down to make it so everyone can finish. If you were to take 5 off,
10.
That's 15.
It's earthworm cleans, like 10s.
Okay.
And just that they need to race. Like if we're racing, it was just a standstill at the earthworm.
Well, and that's what I mean. So it's like, where are you wanting to put the emphasis? Do you want it on the handstands to where you're able to get to that to race? Well, then you don't want to crush them in the cleans where they get stuck there.
I agree.
Otherwise,
with
it's just
that.
cleans.
Well, and then at the end of the weekend, it shouldn't be an earthworm test.
Right.
Like, who's the best team with this odd object?
Yep. Yeah.
Which we have seen in the past. We've seen that at regionals, especially.
Yeah.
It's like, the best worm teams go. I was like, that shouldn't be the case. And that's part of it too. Like, you shouldn't have the worm in every single event. We haven't. We have it in a few. I like the combos, a clean, a weightlifting, gymnastics, right? A hinge from the floor, pull to the shoulders, and then get upside down and press overhead with gymnastics. This is a wonderful combo and setup, but the rep schemes didn't bode well for the time domains of which they were given. Yeah, I think 10. 10. Race. And even on the... yeah.
I just would have liked to have seen more people getting to race the handstand push-ups, the freestanding. Because then that would have counted. Because then that would have been your weekly. I mean, that's what I mean, what did they have the individuals at? Sets of 3, right?
Yes.
And do you think that they went to that? Do you think they had that originally, or do you think that they had 3 sets of 5 originally?
I don't think if it's been announced, I probably can't say what it was originally.
All right, well, that's fine. Well, either way, like, we saw the difficulties that people had here, and if they even got to it, which a lot of people didn't. So you could always have your weak link not even get up to bat because they didn't even have time, because the emphasis was put on the cleans. And I think that's what's really important is it's not just, I mean, you're right. What the workout is awesome. It's a super fun event, but because of the way the rep schemes were set up, now the emphasis is totally different, and now you don't get anything of the final product doesn't look at all what it's written out down on paper here, because it's cleans.
You know what I would have actually liked to see?
Flip it.
And this is a compromise.
Flip
no,
it.
20 earthworm cleans, 15 earthworm cleans, 10 earthworm cleans.
Okay,
I'd be okay with that as a compromise.
I got you.
Because you're descending reps on the gymnastics, but you're not on the weightlifting.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Yeah. Weak link, like I said, for the earthworm, mixed pairs, handstand push-up strict, and then the waterfall for the free standing handstand push-ups. Event number 5, 3 Amigos. This was interesting.
It was.
It was very interesting. And I am still trying to navigate my way through this. I just want to say shout out to throwing it to a 10-foot target for everybody, as you should and always should. So thank you.
Shouldn't even be a question.
If I'm going to come down hard on one event, I will come out here and say, bravo. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. So 120 synchro wall ball shots. Now it's called 3 Amigos. It's 3 people working in synchro the entire time. The people you use at any time is totally up to you. One person basically rests while the other 3 work. It could be 2 women, 1 man, 2 men, 1 woman, so on and so forth. 120 wall ball shots, 90 synchro GHD sit-ups, 60 synchro box jump overs, 30 synchro dumbbell snatches at 100 pounds and 70. Wall ball weight's light, dumbbell weight's heavy, especially the end. A chipper, another chipper, which inside it's easier to follow when it's a chipper. You can just watch them work their way down the field. So visually, you can see where they're going. Time frames moderate again. We've got weightlifting and gymnastics this time. Well, I guess again, which we had in the previous one. So there's certain things I don't think should ever get programmed in team competition. Partner deadlifts, not because they're deadlifts. Well, 1, because they're deadlifts and it's unsafe. 2 is synchro wall ball shots.
Wow.
Wall ball shots are hard enough to judge for individuals to break parallel and hit the target. Wall ball shots, synchro, where there's a free object in space that is so height and size dependent, it is outside the realm of fitness, where you have to manipulate the way you move to match someone else's movement pattern. Now add a third person to that, and I think that's just a mess.
Could you come up with a standard like you would on bar muscle up, where it's like, okay, it doesn't matter where you are as long as you're both end up on top of the thing, where you have one person kind of hanging out there waiting for the other one to get up on top of the bar?
In addition to that, just adds to the mess. Yes, you could simplify the synchro. I'm saying don't do it ever. This was a good opportunity for a bulk workout. 200 wall ball shots as a team, but make it 30 and 20 to a 10-foot target. 1 person working at a time. 150 GHD sit-ups, 100 box jump overs, 50 alternating dumbbell snatches. Just get the work done.
What about pull-ups?
Pull-ups are coming.
I know, but still. I'm saying just like another movement.
I feel like that is, it's more challenging, but it's much easier to do.
I know, I hear what you're saying on the wall ball shots. I get it. Of all of the events, This is my favorite one. One, I love the name because it's Three Amigos. I thought that was cool.
Very good.
They haven't had it
The names
where
got better as the weekend went.
right. They haven't had it where like that's a unique grouping where three people are working and one person sitting out where they're
Yep.
I mean like not one person sitting out, but it's not that someone is like just randomly holding like a handstand
Right.
hold or whatever.
Right.
Everyone's doing it and you can cycle that person in. It's a very unique way to test communication outside of what they normally are doing.
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying with the judging aspect of the
It's
wall
just
ball.
for the wall ball shots.
I
Everything
get
else
it.
I
I get
like.
it. I still liked it. I still like when I watched it, I still liked the fact that that was something that was there was an adaptation that was having to happen. Communication. I mean, in reality, in all three, because I'm on the GHC. I mean, geez, man, like between the front person and the back person, the distance.
Right.
Like you have to the person that's not working and they are sitting in the very back. So it's
Right.
like you're running coxswain from the very back.
But
Trying to make
to the
sure,
back of everybody's head.
Right. I know. So I really liked what it was. I liked the numbers. I liked the fact that it was decreasing. I liked the fact that it went from, I think, less difficult as far as like movement patterns and difficulty to heavier and harder, and the numbers came down. I thought this one I liked. I liked to watch it. It was fun. I liked it.
I like
I
it
hear
too.
what you're saying, but I liked it.
I just wanted to get that off my chest as far as synchro wall ball shots. Stop.
I hear you.
You stop the partner deadlifts. Now let's go. Let's start working back. That being said, I am totally with you. I love the wrench in the system and the way it's been done, which we've never seen.
Right.
I don't think we've ever seen that at the CrossFit Games. We've seen 3-person teams, but that's just same sex across the board, and it's the whole event.
Right.
That was super cool. The rep schemes, 120, 90, 60, 30. That was nice. The challenge of who do you cycle in and when? Much more team strategy. Like this was one of the more strategic ones programmed for the weekend.
Oh, huge.
And I'm all for, here's the work. Do it as fast as you can. We won't tell you. Don't tell me how to win. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Don't tell me how to win. The whole thing was trio/team synchro. Top to bottom. Which, outside of one movement that I don't think should be programmed, like when you watch people get no rep, you're like, okay, at least on a worm, you're all kind of down there or you start together.
Yeah.
It's just too much. It's too much. Someone put dumbbell thrusters. Yeah, great. I can't remember who did that. CrossFit, maybe it was you. Yeah, better. Okay, 2 more events to go. There's only 7 events. The Fort Worth Shuffle. Now, how to explain this? It reads more difficult on paper than it was to watch in person. I had to go back and rewatch the event.
Dude, totally.
Like, oh my gosh, this is so earthworm lunge, I guess on the left shoulder, to a rig. Once you get to the rig, one pair goes for a run, while the other pair does 25 chest to bar pull-ups, and then they flip. Right. So this is another one of those parallel programmed events. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it mattered.
No, it was any pair you wanted.
So male, male, female, female, male, female. It didn't matter. You choose, which is nice because you work your strengths and weaknesses. You're like, all right, we're the best runners. You're the best gymnasticers. So we at least will have one round that's pretty quick.
Right.
Versus we just spread our skill sets thin, and now we're the slowest versions of ourselves. And size and height, which comes into play with something like synchro gymnastics, chest to bar, toes to bar, bar muscle-ups. So 25 chest to bar pull-ups, wall runs, then you switch, lunge back on the other side, come back, 20 toes to bar, run, 30-foot lunge, 15 bar muscle-ups, lunge. Once this was going, I really liked this event a lot. A lot, actually. I liked can we time up our chest to bar pull-ups with your run pace? Can we maximize how fast? And it was a run course nobody really knew and got to practice, so we're not sure how long it would take. So once again, being in the final heat is such a massive advantage. Like, all right, guys, the run's got these teams 30 to 35 seconds. Or maybe it's 40 to 45, whatever it is. Like, hey, if it's 40, we can go 15-10 on chest to bars.
Yeah.
And now we'll run faster because we'll get that little bit of a break. Or it's really fast. Now we have to go unbroken. Right? We should be finishing our 25, which in synchro is probably still 30 to 35 seconds with chest to bars. Toes to bar, 35 to 40, around the same time. I liked it. I liked it a lot because they didn't designate the pairs. They didn't force you to do something. You just went.
This was similar to the Team Firestorm one, where instead of individuals going back and forth, you had the teams doing that, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to setup to the individual version.
Yes.
With the run and the dumbbell. I got a very similar feel for that. I liked it too. This was very different. When you look at it, you're like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And then you actually watch the race. You're like, oh, okay. I get it.
Cool.
It makes sense.
I like it.
It makes sense. It works.
Yeah. And it wasn't hard to follow.
No.
What, now that we have this on the table, if I could go back to Team Firestorm and just make that a straight burn it down relay, I would.
100%.
And like the mixed relays at the Olympics, like the mixed 4x4.
Yeah.
Pick any order you want.
Totally.
Everybody has to do the same work. It doesn't matter. But it's like, all right, we're going to put the two dudes out first and everybody put their chicks out first. Well, the times are pretty comparable between the men and the women.
Yeah, with the
individual
rep scheme.
side.
Yeah.
With that rep scheme being like, if it was 15 for the women on the bike, obviously that would be different. But it was pretty comparable. And now that we have this parallel format, one doing work while the other one's doing work, then you switch doing the same work, you go back to that event, and I would have liked to see that individual relay.
Let everybody just open up. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's just like, who's the fastest? Because you didn't do that at Farrington.
At all.
Right? Now, if they did that in Farrington, what I would have liked to seen on Firestorm is conga line. You go.
Yeah, and I agree because the relay would have been taken. You're right.
Now it's like, okay, now we have a conga line race.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Who's the like who thinks of the fastest? Who's the second fastest?
Who's going to stay the fastest? Yeah.
Which I think would be cool. All right, formats here for the teams. Parallel work. One was running, one was doing the bar work. Synchro work, chest to bar, toes to bar, bar muscle ups. Pair work, not same sex or mix, is whatever they wanted. Pair work. And then weak link work, again, with the earthworm being the more of just a formality. I don't think anybody really had an issue with that. But if you did and one person dropped it, that thing came down on everybody. All right, final event. Event number 7, Beasts of Burden. Best name of the weekend, in my opinion. One, because, and one of my favorite pieces of equipment. The snail is back, finally. Finally, the teams get to get their hands on it.
Right.
I love to see that back. Beasts of Burden. So Beast of Burden is a Rolling Stones song, for those of you guys who were born after 2000 or 90s, I don't know. And a Rolling Stone, a Rolling Snail, like it was great. Beast of Burden, this is fantastic. Well done. 120-foot snail push down in mixed pairs. 80 synchro deadlifts. There's a men's bar and a women's bar. Thank you.
Right.
That's how synchro deadlifts should be done. Not an offloaded men's side and women's side, and then they deadlift together with someone who could be 6 inches shorter than the other with less weight, and let's just put lateral shear along the spine as fast as we can. And
crush guys like Sam out there, who's got the strongest back in the world. And
was that the last time they did that? At least the games?
I think at the games, yeah.
Did they all look at that and be like, oh, yeah, we screwed up. We should never do this again. This actually is the most dangerous thing we have ever programmed for athletes.
Right.
Or getting inverted 10 feet in the air doing ring handstand push-ups. Maybe one of those. Snail push down, 80 synchro deadlifts, snail push back. It was short, but sprint-ish. 7 to 9 is not right. It was more like 5. But I like the race at the end. The synchro deadlifts were kind of ho-hum for me. Just watching that. But what did you think about this one?
It allowed for a slow march to the finish rather than it being like lunges like we've normally seen in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only go so fast with that snail. I liked watching the teams try to figure out and navigate what that push was going to look like going down and back. You had to keep it in your lane. You could have your non-working teammates kind of keep you straight.
Mm-hmm.
But you only had two people pushing, and how you cycled them in, we could do it anytime you wanted. You're right. Same thing on the deadlifts. It was like I wanted the other stuff to hurry. I'm like, oh, cool, the snail, awesome. And deadlifts, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get something to drink. And then you come back, and it's like, all right, now we have the race. Because, I mean, there's not a lot happening. But I do think that, maybe it's not real exciting broadcast-wise, but it does. I mean, dude, if you want to blow out your posterior chain and then have to race that last snail, like pushing all your chips in, I think that stimulus-wise, it was cool. But you're right.
The snail race was great.
It was awesome, dude. It was so awesome, so awesome. But you're right. I mean, I think the deadlifts did what they needed to do. They weren't exciting to see.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know if shortening up the deadlifts. I mean, I don't know. Maybe make it less reps and like go, I don't know, 20 or 30, but like really bump up the deadlifts where it's like 405 and something like that, where it's like now you're not just cycling through it, but it's like, okay, now we're going to showcase some strength. Like, do you have the strength piece? And then get to race through. I don't know. It wouldn't have taken as long, and it would have been more. I think it would have been a lot more exciting to watch really heavy bars come up rather than like this. 315 for these guys nowadays is like 225 for the general population now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's just not exciting. Not for me, but like for the gen pop. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think it. I think that would have, if you were just going to go deadlifts, then do something like that. Unless or go way light and then have them move. That where you can kind of see what the race is. It was just really hard to see where the race was during that time until all of a sudden someone came out like, oh, hey, they're on the snail now. Hey,
right.
Like they emerged out of the cave,
Yeah.
And then you just got to see who was in the lead.
Yeah, I like the snail versus a worm lunge.
Oh, thank God.
We've had several times.
Totally.
I love the snail. It's such a great demoralizing piece of equipment.
It's just so different. I mean, it's not the bob which we're used to seeing. It's not the worm, which like has been overplayed, but it does the exact same thing. It is a heavy ass piece of equipment that seems like it should be moving really well, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
What if the middle was? What movement could you put here in the middle that would be more exciting? Because they had pigs out there, but they just jumped over them.
Yeah.
So those were there. I don't want to say thrusters. What about like a 1-for-1, like pig back and forth? Or no, because it's men and women, so you can't do that. I was saying it's like I flip it over, you flip it back, third person flips it over, and you just go back and forth. But you'd need two different weights if you did that. I'm trying to think of what else to put there.
Well, it's like it's what's the why? Like what? I
like the heavier weight idea that you had.
I think that would be the easiest to keep the movements. Otherwise, I mean, like what haven't we done? We haven't done like a heavy snatch in there.
True. There's just not room for that.
Where it was. You're right. I mean, you could have had it to where maybe the snatch was happening on you have the platform for the finish line. Okay, make that like the lifting platform, and so everyone has to run up there to do the lift, whatever the lift is that they have to do. Whether I don't know if synchro. I mean, maybe a you go, I go kind of thing rather than synchro. The problem with that then is depending what the weights are, then the whole race comes down to can your person snatch that or not. And I don't know.
But don't make it. Maybe there is enough room. Say there's 2 barbells over here, and it's 225 for the men, 155 for the women. Squat snatches.
Yeah.
And it's
40
of them.
20 for each?
Just 40. Oh, well, synchro.
40 total. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or we've done enough synchro stuff.
Right.
We've done plenty. 40 total.
Any way you want.
Ooh.
So if you have your big dog out there, you have your Tola, it's like, okay, you go get 30 of them right now.
Yeah.
Save the rest of our other people to like drive the snail so that the rest of that makes the snail all of a sudden like you can. That would be fun. That would be really fun, dude.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I like that. That would be cool. Anyway, how get rid of subjectivity. I always like
you have a women's bar, one woman's bar, one men's bar.
Yep.
You once your team gets past the 120, you have to get done with 40 reps.
Just have a box, and the bars need to stay in there. Athletes stay outside of it. Only one person can be in the box at a time.
Yep.
And you have to tag to trade out or exit the box before someone enters the box.
Yeah.
So as far as people navigating around barbells bouncing around, that helps the judging.
That would all of a sudden you're highlighting that. That would be spectacle wise.
Yeah.
Way more fun.
You're like, 3 reps to go. Or they're 5 reps behind, and all of a sudden, like Tola goes in there's just like 1, 2,
touch and go at 225.
Yeah, there you go. But format-wise, I like the snail. Mixed pairs, snail push, synchro pairs, deadlifts. That's it. And then we come to little things out here. Schemes, no single modality events, 1 couplet, and 6 chippers. Now, I realize that is more viewing dependent. It didn't really, I think watching it, nobody ever thought about, here's another one. But I was looking at it, I'm like, yep. All right, cool. Whatever. I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm just like, that's what it was. Modalities used 4 monostructural, 9 weightlifting, 10 different gymnastics, team format, weak link 5 times. That's Bob. That was the run. And the 3 times the earthworm was used. Trio synchro, which is new, 3 pair synchros, 5 mixed pairs, 1 same sex, 2 relays, 1 waterfall, 2 parallels. Earthworm, as far as team equipment being used, only, like exclusively for teams, like individuals can't use the worm. I guess they could use the snail, but whatever. Earthworm is used 3 times in the 7 events. Big Bob once, snail once, time domains, 1 sprint, 3 short, 3 moderate, nothing long. Now the long one was supposed to be the swim. So again, some grace there as far as balance in the time domains. 10 gymnastics movements were used. 4 monostructural, 2 run, 1 ski, 1 bike. 9 weightlifting movements. 4 gymnastic movements patterns of the 5 that we have. 2 jumping, 1 core. That's the toes to bar. I guess 2 core because the GHG sit-up. So add 1 there. Sorry. 3 pull, 2 push, hinge, weightlifting movements. 3 pulls from the floor. You had the cleans with the earthworm. You had the dumbbell snatches, and then you had the deadlifts. 2 pulls, 4 push, 6 squat, lunge, or leg fatigue. And then just for fun at the end. Different equipment used. Weightlifting movement patterns. Gymnastics movement patterns, heavier on the pull and the press, which is typical. Very typical, so that's not a negative. Time domains, as we said, there's a lot more on the short to moderate than there were, which is a range you want to be in. The 5 to 10 minute range and the 12 to 15 minute range is where most of your CrossFit programming centers around. You go short every once in a while or heavy or long every once in a while. So that shouldn't be 30, 30, 30.
That is a big difference from past years too. Usually in the past, the team events were like all 20 minutes plus.
Yes.
I mean, true. There was a lot of shorter events team-wise this year than there have ever been, I think.
which I like.
Yeah,
It's like,
totally.
oh, this team event is 30-minute cap. I'm like, Jesus. And here's the thing. I know we said there's 6 chippers of the 7 programmed. And the run swim would technically be the 7th one of the 8 programmed. I'm not sure what the Thursday night one was going to be. But it's easier to follow as a fan in a format that marches down a competition floor. And like I said, is I don't remember sitting there and like, oh, another chipper. I was like, oh yeah, that goes down. So maybe in that format it's best because when you have like 5 rounds, or you could have something that designates the rounds change, or maybe you're using the worm or the snail or bob that you have to move to the next round as it advances or something like that. Like there's creative ways you can do that for rounds, but it does hold your attention a bit more in that format. But that's it. That's it for the teams. Now I'm curious. Things that I liked was there were some strategy elements in there. The parallel ones, who to put where. Definitely on the Fort Worth Shuffle. Thought that was better. Firestorm was kind of a wash a bit, just because it was so fast.
Yeah.
The first event of the grindy midline squat legless, I like that one a lot. I think that just kind of got lost in the shuffle of the weekend and when it came up because it was the first event after Thursday. I don't think anybody was really caring about what it was, and I don't blame them. I wasn't either, honestly. And Farrington upsets me.
So bad.
Farrington upsets me just because of what was possible and what we got instead. And then the Fort Worth Shuffle, I really liked. The format of the handstand push-up one, I liked. It just didn't flesh out like we wanted it. The chipper one that you were talking about, the trio, I like that. And then the final was okay. It was okay.
Right.
I think I liked it more because of the worm and it was short than anything.
What do you give it? I had to do the indies first last time, so you're up.
I am going to give it... dang it. I'm going to give it 1. One thumb up. Hey, good job. Not bad. Wall ball thing needs to get cleaned up. Farrington, as we said, I like everybody's going to 10 feet. I like the parallel things they put in there. The formats and the chippers and the things that were all there. As far as the misses and the makes, and the convoluted team programming we've had the last couple of years that we've seen, this is going in the right direction. So I'll say I like where we're going as long as this is not where we stop. So they get 1 thumb up from me.
Okay. All right. I was extremely curious about this year to see what the teams were going to be with the big discussion about Dave solely doing individual and Boz solely doing the teams. And when they came out and I saw that on my initial look, and granted, the way I see it is like everyone else sees it. I'm looking on the website and I can see kind of whatever is being posted at the time. And a lot of it looked like convoluted versions of the individual events for the most part. And I just hate when that's the case because to me, my initial reaction to that is, oh, well, they're just throwing things together, so it really doesn't matter. I don't think that was the case of it necessarily. There were some. Yeah, you're right. Farrington 5 was a complete waste of time. In all reality, I don't think I would have really liked the it would be fun to do the run paddle that didn't get to happen.
Yep.
But I think that would have looked as silly as it was when they had to do the swim in Madison with the rescue sled and they're pushing. Like, I think it would have been that ridiculous looking.
Seeing it get tested, it's way better.
Okay, well, I don't know that because I didn't get to see it.
Yeah. So with the giant paddleboard, all could sit on their knees and paddle like they're in a boat.
Okay.
No issues there. And with the run being so long to start, the congestion and interference that were with like the rescue sled, when it was 6 people and everybody just ran to the water together,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sat there like it
Wait.
looked like just like a bunch of viruses fighting each other. It would have shaken out better visually
Okay.
than the rescue sled in the past. But yes,
Okay.
I am with you.
All right. So I had
Yes.
I had a hard time with that one. Uh, Obviously, Farrington 5 was a complete miss. So that right there immediately like takes all of the longer version work for the teams and just kind of throws it all in the trash. Like to me, like they didn't get any of that tested.
Mhm.
And just as I said earlier, we have a lot of shorter events that we don't usually have in the team competition. So it was interesting seeing that element being tested so much more than the 20 to 25 plus time frame tested.
Right.
I like that. I like that. I just thought that it was unique that we went that way. There were 2 events that I really liked. I really liked the 3 Amigos, even with the wall ball thing. I still liked what it was. I liked the newness to having 3 people go kind of, and you break it up however you want to break it up, as long as you only have one person sitting out. The Fort Worth Shuffle was cool to watch. Because and again, I think it was cooler to watch more because when I saw it on paper, I was literally like, "What the f is this?"
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what the f it is." Like,
Right. Yeah.
like these, they didn't even look like the same. Even though I'm reading what they're doing and I'm watching what they're doing, I'm like, they still don't connect even remotely in my brain for whatever reason.
Mhm.
So that was a nice change. I think it was nicer because of how bad it was. And then the Beast of Burden, like it was just fun to see the snail. I mean, you're right. The deadlifts were like meh, but it was cool to see the snail at the end, and it was a lot of like, oh, cool, the snail, and then the last push of the snail was like the whole race. So I mean, I'm kind of with you on this. I still think that there is a lot of room for improvement
Yes.
with the teams. I do think that there were some really good events, and I like the fact that they've shown themselves like, okay, we can do shorter events and
Mhm.
still make them actually check the boxes in the team competition.
Right.
Even the
I like the way he did that too, Boss specifically, because to make it shorter, people didn't do less work, but pairs did the same work together.
together, and that's something new. We've never seen that parallel work. And I mean, granted, they did it twice, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
But not just that, but say like, hey, 40 cal ski, pairs are working
Right.
together on those 40 cal, so you pull through it faster. The 60 handstand push-ups,
Yep.
the 40. Like I was like, okay, I like that. That's how you shorten it up, but don't you keep the volume the same, but you truncate
Short
the
the
time
time.
frame.
Yeah. So I agree. I'll go with your 1 on that. I think that it was good. I will be completely honest that like I usually do not enjoy watching the teams. Like it just like
Yeah.
the camera shots. It's just
Here's the thing, like,
it's just
don't say
people.
that like it's a bad thing. That's just a personal preference. It's
No,
why I don't watch
well,
hockey
I
until
feel bad about
playoffs.
what I feel bad about is I don't like to talk shit just for the sake of talking shit.
I just think
Um,
it's being honest though. You're not like,
no, I
because you're
am.
not like the teams suck and I hate this event. You're like, I just have no interest watching the teams.
Yeah, because I mean, generally speaking, it's hard to follow. I think that there were some events this year that were easier to follow than I thought they would be, which was
Mhm.
cool. Um, eh, again, I would love to see someone be given a blank slate and go, show me something amazing where we can truly test the teams in a
Yeah.
way that tests them. Not like, all right, you test the team inside these rails,
Yeah.
inside this box, inside
Yeah.
this. It would be still fun to go with, but I'm fine with the 1. I think that generally speaking, it was better programming than we saw in the individuals. The
Mm.
individuals, again, like when we said on our last show, is that there were a lot of events that I liked, but it just was skewed so obviously and hard to one direction.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that the skewing was the same with the teams. It was obviously it's different because there are other things that you can kind of put the categories in. But I think that it was much more incongruent of where it needed to be going direction-wise rather than the individual. So I'm good with that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I want to do? Shows that we have coming up. We're finalizing, trying to get CrossFit Jeopardy on Friday.
Okay.
Working on that. Do you want to do a reprogramming series for the individuals and the teams
For this year?
for this year? Or, okay, let me throw this out there.
You want to there fix it? You want to there fixed it?
Maybe a there fix it episode
Okay.
on individuals. And depending on how much work you want to do, I am more than happy to step in and reformat and reprogram the team competition and just get your opinion on that, unless you want to do one of those as well.
No, I'm good with
I know
that.
you don't like teams, so.
Yeah, well, it's not that I don't like it. It's just that that's never been my passion. I was always an individual guy too.
Which is fine.
You know, I
It's
get
not
it.
a bad thing. There's
I'm not
people
I'm
that
not
would
taking it
rather
as
watch
bad,
the team
dude.
competition
I'm
than
not taking it as bad.
No, I know, but like you kind of say it's like, oh, I hate to say this. I'm like, it's just an opinion. It's okay. God, what was I going to say? I liked. Well, I mean, you've already went through this. I like the programming more after looking at it
Yeah,
than I did just reading on it.
100%, which was shocking to me, honestly. I didn't think it would be that much. I didn't think it would be as much better than it was when I first when I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. So,
Bob Culver, who is the defending CrossFit Jeopardy champ? It is Casey Akery.
Casey Akery.
Casey Akery. 2-time defending, going for 3, but I heard that John Young might be trying to work his way back on the show, as well as potentially Margot Alvarez.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
Yes. So keep on the lookout. If you want up to date of what is upcoming on the show, just like the page, hit the little bell, and you will get notifications on when we come up. So if you guys love what we do, all you got to do is hit like. Hit subscribe, please, and you'll be a part of this ride with us, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for you guys listening to the show, it would just be Bill and I shouting into the void, which we will do. We can do that.
That's how it started.
That's how it started. That's how it started, but we love where we're at, and we can't wait to see where we're going to go. So stay tuned on what's coming up later this week. It is Tuesday. What's Tuesday? Tomorrow night will be, or tomorrow possibly, I don't know if Pedro has his Around the Whiteboard show tomorrow. Because I know he's out of town.
Yeah.
Spin, usually at night. Thursday, Shut Up and Scribble usually goes. And then we'll be back on Friday, hopefully. So, all right. That'll do it for teams. We'll be back hopefully Friday for Jeopardy. And then reprogramming There Fixed It is apparently on the horizon soon. Thank you guys for joining us. Happy Tuesday, and we'll see you later.